Welcome, everyone. I'm Teresa Atkinson with the Kidney Wellness Hub, and we're thrilled to have you here with us tonight. We'd like to gratefully acknowledge that we're able to bring the Come Cook With Us class from the ancestral and unceded territory and homelands of the Hunkamina and Squamish speaking peoples. Over to you, Dani and Anja.
Thank you so much, Teresa, Kidney Foundation of Canada, and all of you. I'm really excited to be here as one of the dietitians to show you some amazing recipes. I'm here with my dear friend and colleague, Anja Webster, and I guess I should explain why we're in separate kitchens. The idea was that we would be cooking together, but out of safety considerations, we all tested for COVID and I got the positive. So needless to say, the camera crew is safe. Everybody's safe and far away from me. And we are so grateful to a wonderful production team and the Kidney Foundation for setting us up.
You can see them.
You can see they're behind a thick glass wall and looking very healthy. So thank you so much for bearing with me and the rest of us. And I'm sure we're going to still have a wonderful time. So what are we making tonight? What aren't we making? I mean, there are so many recipes, right? But this is how it goes. When you batch cook, you just get in the kitchen, you get your ingredients, and you cook a number of things that you can mix and match. You can freeze for later, and you can save money this way. You can save time and energy this way. So we're going to do a chicken sheet pan dinner. You can also do a tofu option for the sheet pan dinner with lots of yummy veggies. And we'll do a totally low sodium, totally homemade. And we'll do a lentil bowl as well as a really fun, colorful cabbage coleslaw. So hopefully you're ready to cook. And thank you so much to one of the participants who's super detail oriented and found the temperature mistake on one of our recipes. So your temperature for everything is 375 degrees Fahrenheit. Great. And I'm excited to hand over to Anja to introduce us and tell you some exciting news.
Thank you. All right. So tonight we want to ensure that you are interactive. We have muted everyone, but please do unmute, do lift your hand up if you're cooking. We do want to answer questions. We want this to feel like we're in your kitchen with you cooking and not just on the screen in Zoom. You can cook along with us. And as Dani said, we do have the recipes for you and all the ingredients. So if you just want to take some time to enjoy our faces and watch us do it, then you can also do that. Sit back, relax, and watch us do the work. At the end of the evening, we will have a draw to win 3 of these beautiful aprons. So Teresa's going to take care of that at the end of the night. So stay tuned and stay here till the end. Before we get our hands dirty, we'd like to do a poll to ask which of the recipes are you most excited to watch us cook, or are you most excited to cook? So Teresa will set up the poll. Obviously, you're excited to watch us cook them all, but what's your most favorite?
All right. I think we've got most everybody. So I will end poll and share results.
Yay, amazing.
See, Dani, I told you everyone's excited about that sheet pan dinner.
It smells so good in here. I can't even tell you. Does it smell good in your kitchen? It's like magic. It smells so good, this sheet pan. So I'm excited to get started. Should we get started?
Please.
All right, perfect. So I'm going to start with the sheet pan dinner. So you can follow along on your recipe. And if you wanted to use tofu, just do that, right? No problem. So in our sheet pan, we have potatoes. Now, who's scared that I'm using potatoes? Who's worried? Who doesn't want to use potatoes?
No.
Okay, some hands. Okay, so here's the thing. You're scared to use potatoes because you're potassium might be something you're watching, right? And potatoes are a higher potassium food. You can just double boil them. You see how I've cut them into just these cubes like that? You just throw them in a pot with water, bring that to a boil, throw the water out, refill with new water, boil it again. It's called double boiling, and you can remove 70% of the potassium that way. So you can eat potatoes more often and not worry. But you can certainly do that. Yeah, go ahead.
What's the difference between regular white potatoes and then yams or sweet potato? Are they better?
Better in what way? Potassium, fiber?
Well, for myself, I'm dealing more with a liver issue than a kidney issue. So is one better than the other in terms of like overall?
Overall, I would say nutrition wise, you're probably going to get pretty similar. What we really try to focus on is getting a variety. So I'd say some days eat potatoes, some days you do your sweet potatoes. Same thing, you can double boil. If there are concerns with potassium, you can double boil all your root vegetables. You can double boil the lentils too, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I would say pretty similar potassium content. There's a bit more fiber maybe in the sweet potatoes, but I don't know what your liver condition is exactly. So it would take a little bit more. And I think Teresa has the contact for the dietitians for the Kidney Wellness Hub. But what I would say in general, whichever one you like better.
Okay.
Really, it's all about what you like the taste of. That's what I would go for.
Thank you.
Dani,
Yeah.
I have a question. It's regarding the carrot. So my dad, he has a GFR of 15, and he's scared of eating carrot. I don't know why. He thinks that it is going to be bad for him, for his kidney. Is that correct or not? Or what should I do so he can eat more carrots?
Absolutely. You know what happens in the body with things like carrots that are really high in fiber, that have lots of vitamins, is that it doesn't mean it's going to raise the potassium. And so a lot of people are worried that if I eat carrots, my potassium will go up. But in the body, that's not actually happening. So all those lists with fruits and vegetables that have potassium listed on it, it doesn't mean that that's going to be potassium in your blood. So things that are high in fiber, like the carrots, actually a lot of the potassium is bound to that fiber. So you're going to get rid of it, and it's better for you because your digestive system will do better because we'll remove it through the bowel.
Oh, thank you, Dani.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell him, and he will be more excited to eat
Oh,
carrots.
I know. It's so much fun when people find out they can eat whatever they want.
I will say it is hard. We have lots of handouts. We've had lots of teaching about low potassium. And today we are doing quite a few foods. We're using the potatoes. Again, we're talking about double boiling them. We're using lentils, all traditionally higher potassium foods. And what we're really trying to show is how they can be part of a balanced diet, and you can eat what your family's eating. And yeah, like Dani said, for the fiber, for fruits and vegetables, they're not the primary thing that's, yes, they contribute, of course. Things you've been taught, that wasn't all wrong. What they do though, is we look at the juices, the soups, like the store-bought items that have higher potassium concentration, because you've got the fiber in the carrots, you've got the fiber in the celery, the other vegetables, that's going to help your body get rid of that potassium. So yes, everything's okay in moderation. And that's why we're showing you how to do this in 3 or 4 different meals so you can make it stretch out.
So once you've got your vegetables all set up on your pan, then you can take apart your chicken. So how many of you are working with me to cut up the chicken?
How many don't know how to cut up the chicken?
Dani, please show me, because
it's so
have
easy.
never cut up my own chicken. I make my husband do it, but I don't know how to do it.
I will say you can't be squeamish, okay? Because there's going to be like bones cracking and skin peeling and things like that. So you can't be squeamish. And you have to be really careful to separate the chicken from the raw stuff. So just clear your space. Because we're roasting these vegetables, it's okay, I can have them nearby. But if I was cutting vegetables for a salad or something, I would need to do that before doing the chicken so that the juices won't mix into the raw stuff. Okay, so we're gonna start with the leg, with the drumstick, and you can pull it back and see there's some skin there. So basically you just cut right into it. You need a sharp knife. So
I was
no
just
dull
gonna say
knives.
that looks like a really good knife, Dani.
Yeah, you need a good knife. And then once you cut, so it's just so simple. I'm going to use the drumstick for our soup stock. So I'm just going to start bending back the bone a bit. That's what I mean about the cracking, right? And then I just find the joint, you see, and I just cut through the joint. And I put it in my pot here. And in my pot here, I have all the ends from the carrots, from the celery. I have the parsley stems, the celery leaves, everything. That's all going into my stock. Nothing's going to waste. So I can do the other drumstick. Again, I'm gonna, and you may have your own technique and you may be cringing at mine. So tell me if you have a good technique that you like to share. Otherwise, people will just learn this one. What can we say about chicken and kidney health? Anja, people have questions about that?
Well, what I was going to talk a bit more about the chicken is, so we did say we're using that whole chicken, and Dani is really showing you we're trying to, food cost has gone up so much, especially in the last few years. So we're really trying to find ways that we can cut back on the food cost. Buying a whole chicken is quite a lot cheaper than buying the products that are cut up. Every time the butcher does another cut, takes off the skin, what they're doing is adding dollars to that breast, thighs, whatever cut up. So if you have the time, you have a good knife, it's great if you can buy a chicken. And then Dani's showing you how she's taking those end bits or the wings and putting them in the stock, which we're also going to use later. If you don't, you can for sure just buy some thighs, buy some legs, buy whatever part of the chicken you enjoy and use that instead.
Absolutely. And chicken, you know, it's a really good heart healthy option. It's got some saturated fat, but not to the same degree as the beef world. But really what we want to show you is that you can offset how much you eat of the chicken by using the lentils as well, so that you're getting some chicken, but not all, and you're using some plant-based protein. And the plant-based proteins we now know are quite good in terms of protecting our kidneys. So we don't want people to go vegan or something overnight unless they want to, but we want people to have more variety.
Dani, I have a question. My question is, for example, if you have a soup that has 1 cup of chicken broth, would you consider that a portion, like 1 portion of protein of the day or not?
Just the broth?
Yes. For example, using the broth for the soup and you put some veggies, for example.
You need more protein, yeah.
Yeah, I don't count the broth as a protein source. If you're eating the chicken that you cooked in there and you shred that up, then that could be towards your protein. What I would count that broth, if you're just drinking it, would be towards your fluid.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Okay. And just again, I think we didn't really mention, but another reason we're making the broth is one way to show you how to get a low sodium broth. It's quite easy to make. We're using our food scraps from the chicken cut up. We're using my goodness, I'm losing the peeled carrots. You can use the peel. You can collect anytime you're prepping veggies. Dani showed you, she's using the heads of the celery. She's using the peels of the carrots. She's using things she's already chopped up. And that's just a really easy way that broth will be done by the time we're done our dinner. So it takes about an hour on the stove and you've got yourself a low sodium chicken stock. You can freeze it. You can use it in soups and soup bases, and you can save some money at the grocery store. Actually, today I went to Save On Foods and I didn't even find the low sodium chicken stock.
Oh, no.
It wasn't in their normal section. I had to go to the organic food section, and I was very surprised. So
I just find
another
it
way to
costs
make it
so
well.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's expensive. And when I make my own, it's like I can put in my own flavors, the spices I like, you know, use like different cultural spice blends. You know, the stock is incredible when you make it at home. Who makes their own stock? Anybody?
I see some
Yeah.
hands.
And what's your take on it? Do you think it's better, or do you like the soup stock from the market?
It's way better, the good, the real thing.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know. It's just powerful. I'm just going to wash my hands.
So as Dani's washing her hands, I think that gives us a really good point about the food safety. She mentioned it a little bit before as well. She moved everything out of the way to make sure that no chicken juices, nothing would splatter on any of the food we're going to eat fresh. And today we will be making coleslaw later. And for us, we're very food safe because I'm making it in my kitchen. So no cross contamination from the chicken. But one thing, make sure you're washing your hands, make sure you're sanitizing the counters, especially if you're doing it in the same order that we are, where we're trying to get all the food that needs to do the passive cooking in the oven. That once you're done your chicken, you sanitize everything, you wash your hands, wipe down all your counters. I like to pop my chicken in the oven or on the stove and then do all that and know that my work surface is completely clean before I start any of the raw vegetables that I'm going to eat. The sheet pan ones are okay because they're going in the oven as well. But definitely for the coleslaw, if you're making a salad, trying to get something quickly through onto the stove, keep that food safety in mind as well. Cooking shows always forget. So that's why we're making a big point of mentioning it today.
So I'm going to finish assembling my stock here, and I like lots of peppercorns. I'm going to put some garlic. And
can I use whole
some,
garlic, Dani? Do I have
sure
to chop it?
Of course. I'm going to put some Italian seasoning. So you see, I'm using the ingredients from the marinade, and I'm just putting them in the stock. And I'm going to turn that on. That's going to cook as well. I have also here my lentils and rice in a rice cooker. So what I did was I soaked the lentils and the brown rice in water for a few hours. Then I rinsed the mixture about 5 times, and then I cooked it together. But if you want, you can cook the rice and the lentils separately. And lentils are often a food that is associated with high potassium as well. But the fact that we cook lentils reduces the potassium content. So the cooking process reduces it. So again, it's not the same as what's written as milligrams on the paper because the cooking process is not accounted for. So careful using those tables with the milligrams of potassium in them. Great. So marinade is next for the sheet pan. And what goes in the marinade is a 1/4 cup of chicken stock that I had made earlier, and 1/2 cup of olive oil. Perfect. Gonna just juice the lemon. And I like using these jars actually. Sometimes I'll make more, marinade than I need, and I save it in the fridge up to a week. It's okay. Who struggles with food waste at home right now? Like, who notices they're throwing out a lot of food?
I know for me, I always end up putting it in the freezer, or else if it sits in the fridge, I forget about it and then it does go to waste. Something that I've cooked, right? So
Yeah.
I like to put leftovers straight into the freezer and reheat them in the microwave.
And so when you freeze food, you really want to take the air right out of it as much as possible. So airtight containers, so you don't get the freezer burn, or sometimes it's like these plastic bags that you can use that are freezer adaptable. And then label everything, if just even with a sticky, so you know what's in it. So you're not
That's what I
opening all the
always
tops,
forget
right?
to do.
I know. I
I'm
do
very
sometimes
guilty of
forget.
that.
What is that smell test, right?
No, it's surprise dinner.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I wanted tomatoes, but I got, I don't know, ice cream. Everything looks the same.
So what I think they need to start doing is get some smell vision into the Zoom.
Oh my
Because
God, this
I can
smell.
sense like that lemon and those herbs you've got in there, Dani.
Oh,
And I
it's
wish
so
that I
good.
was closer to you so I could smell it cooking in the oven. I've just got my coleslaw, which smells
I
great
know.
fresh, but that oven, that roast chicken's gonna smell really good.
Well, next time we'll be together and we can all eat together and enjoy these yummy recipes. Perfect. So is your chicken in the oven? Is your stock on? Is your lentil rice combo going? Good. Fabulous.
So that didn't take very long. I mean, yes,
No.
we prepped some of those veggies ahead of time, but that's the goal of meal prepping as well. And if you can set aside a half hour or an hour one night a week or a couple nights a week where you chop up all those veggies, you can get that quick weeknight dinner as well. So everything's being cooked on one sheet pan for that sheet pan chicken dinner, and minimal prep, just those veggies being cut up. So you could definitely do that the night before or a couple days ahead of time and just keep those veggies cut up till you're ready to cook. So it's time saving.
These veggies aren't expensive. A lot of the time they're local and seasonal. So you can just change it up. If it's summertime and you have zucchini or, cauliflower, whatever you like, you can use for this recipe for the veggies.
So when you did the 1 cup of dried lentils and 1 cup of dried brown rice, how much water did you put in that rice cooker?
I usually put double the amount of water.
If I was cooking it on the stove, is that the same?
That's what I do. Yeah.
Like 2 to 1, right? So 2 cups of rice.
1.
No, 1
Yeah.
cup of rice, 2 cups of water. And that's
For
the
how
same as the
long?
rice.
Usually I use about 45 minutes. I've had this interesting experience with lentils, personal experience, where I didn't cook them as they should have been cooked. I undercooked them and we got sick. And I was like, why are we sick? We ate lentils. It's not like we ate raw chicken. And I looked it up, and lentils actually have this toxin. So if you don't cook them well, then they can make you sick. So since then, I've just increased the cooking time of the lentils. And that's why I do it with the rice, because I know 45 minutes, the lentils are done.
So if you're putting 4 cups of water into that rice cooker?
I would say, you know what I do is, you know how the rice and the lentils are on the bottom and they kind of just cover the bottom? Yeah, I'd say I put about an inch of water to cover it, just over the lentil and rice.
Yeah, I just wondered if lentils took more water than rice did, but I guess not.
No, you're right. The rice takes more water.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Because if you just did the lentils on their own, there's lots of water to discard after they're boiled.
Mm.
Yeah, and you can use canned too. Canned lentils, great choice. Yeah,
Then you don't have to worry about undercooking them.
exactly.
You just want to
I-
give
I
them
went
a
to that
rinse
for
to
a
get
while.
rid of the
Yeah,
salt. Yeah.
yeah. You guys brought me back to dried lentils again after a hiatus. Yeah.
Now I
So
know
you-
why I can't tolerate lentils. So Maybe I'll try
Yeah.
them again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
soaking helps too. I mean, not with it, it'll cut back the cooking time a little bit if you soak them.
Yeah.
Not significantly, but it will help, or it can help with some of that gas from lentils too. So you can soak them the night before, and you can't really overcook lentils because you kind of want them to be, unless you really, really want to see them distinctly if you're using them for a salad, but otherwise you're just mixing them into the rice. So it's okay if they're quite mushy.
Yeah, you expect to see lentils mushy like in soups and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up a great point. So I have these cooked lentils here, right? And I cooked it with the rice. That's perfectly cooked now, like that. And then if I have stock, like the chicken stock I'm making, I might throw some of this into the stock and make a soup and just add some extra veggies that are in my fridge and looking for a home. And that'll be my dinner. So another way to mix and match your ingredients, right?
So if you cook rice and lentils together, how long will that take? I think the lentils were 45 minutes.
Yeah, about 45. Yeah.
Yeah, the rice is about 45 too. I think brown rice is about half hour. So
Yeah.
mixing them together. And that's a really good way. Mixing the lentils with the rice is another really good way to add more fiber if you need to add fiber. You don't have to do it 1-to-1 either. If it's not, it's a different taste. So even just starting with a little bit, adding a 1/4 cup of lentils to the 1 cup of rice, just to start getting yourself adapting to that different taste, different texture a little bit, is a great way to slowly increase your fiber. And then if you really don't want, you can always cook the lentils separate and just throw some in the bowl to really, if you want just a tablespoon, my kids will like just a tablespoon on the side. One loves it, one not so much. So the one just gets a tablespoon to look at, and then, you know, it's changing your taste and just adapting to what you like.
Yeah. I find lentils and rice a bit plain. So I really like to add things like sauteed apples and then that chicken that I made in the oven, for example, to it, or the slaw, right? The cabbage slaw. So Anja is going to show that to us. You just need some extra sweet or lemon flavor or vinegar, you know, you just to bump up the flavor.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, the lentils and the rice on their own can also look, we had this problem, we were plating to try to make the picture for your recipes. So they don't look, I mean, they taste real good, but they kind of look gray. So that's why we paired it with this coleslaw. So this is such a beautiful colored coleslaw. We've got the
red cabbage.
So I used red cabbage. So we made this on the fly, and I changed, this is what I had in my house. I always have cabbage and carrots because they're easy. Cabbage and carrots are great to keep if you're worried about potassium. Your cabbage is low potassium. Your carrots, if they're raw, lower potassium, they last in the fridge forever. So this is, if you're doing your big shop, these are your last things to eat in the fridge. Get through anything like your tomatoes or your zucchini or any of your other veggies, your herbs, your lettuces. Eat through those first, and then save your cabbages and your carrots for later because they last so well. So I grated some of it up. You can see this beautiful color in here. So, I mean, you don't need to watch me really grating, but just show that you can just grate it, keep your fingers safe. If you don't want to go through the trouble, you can always use a food processor. So just pop them into the food processor, especially if you're making a big batch. The other thing is, if you don't want to grate carrots and cabbage, you can always buy those prepackaged mixes. Those are great. Just pop them in the fridge. They're not going to last as long as that they are when they're whole. I will also say, if you're making this slaw, I think it's good for about 3 days. The flavors are going to really marinate with that oil and vinegar together. But don't pre-grate your cabbage way in advance, because I've done that before. And if you do it, I think it's only got a 2-3 days on it. Keep it whole. It's pretty quick to grate. Otherwise, it's going to go a bit slimy and smelly on you. So it should smell fresh. Cabbage shouldn't really smell not good until it's going bad. Okay, so I've got this all in here and I didn't pull out a spoon. Now I'm searching through my kitchen. So just to show you these colors. And if you want to save another dish, you can. I think Dani, when she made it, did make the dressing at the bottom of the bowl, but I wanted to show you the dressing. So this is your olive oil. I had rice vinegar, but you can use apple cider vinegar, a little bit of the low sodium soy sauce, and maple syrup. And then you can just drizzle it on. And I would make this probably a little bit before, or like I said, you can make it the day before. Oh, it smells really good. And it's going to marinate in the fridge too. So
Yeah, it's kind of like
that's going to be a
pickling,
beautiful
isn't
color.
it? Yeah, it's like as it coats the marinade, all these, beautiful pieces of cabbage and carrot just get really happy and pickled. And so you're getting tons of flavor without salt, right? You're getting tons of fiber without all the other things you don't want. And this is like a great side dish with anything you want to have.
You can throw this into your salads too to beef up. What's the proper term for veggies?
Spruce
Up your salads. There you go. Spruce up your salads.
Jazz up.
Got some lettuce.
Yeah.
Jazz up. Look at that. See,
All right.
thesaurus too. You can add that to your salads at the end of the night too, to throw on the dinner if you want to
elevate.
Further.
Nice.
Oh, elevate.
Love
Look at.
it.
Thank you. Says it's coming from you, Dani.
I love elevate because oftentimes there's like a bit of I guess I don't know what the right word is, but judgment around using things that are classically inexpensive, like cabbage, lentils, and rice, right? But these are things that fancy restaurants are embracing now, right? Because it's all about flavor, and getting flavor in doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money.
Hi, everybody. I'm cooking along and I have a question. I have the vegetables marinating and I'm doing the tofu option. And so that's in the marinade. Now I'm about to put it in the baking sheet to go in the oven. Do you pour the whole marinade in the baking sheet as well with everything? Do you strain it?
No, I just pour it on.
Pour the whole thing in the sheet. All right.
I do.
Sweet. Thanks.
Yeah. I know it says coat this and then save a third. I forget every single time. I'm a mom of 3. Like my brain has morphed. So I have become super efficient and I'm like, just pour it on and it still tastes good.
So I was just wondering, I don't usually use soy sauce, even the low sodium. Do you think it would taste fine without it? The soy sauce?
Do you use any kind of sort of derivative, I guess, like Bragg's or coconut aminos? Do you use anything like that?
No, I don't.
I think you'll be fine. It'll still taste awesome. You can add a bit of mustard if you want.
Oh, that sounds good. Like Dijon or
Yeah,
dried?
Dijon is a wonderful option. I love Dijon.
Yeah, I do too.
I think if you're not doing the soy sauce too, you could do a pinch of salt just to help it soften the cabbage in that, a small amount. So if you're using the soy sauce, it's probably got, even the low sodium probably has enough sodium or salt. But if you're not, I would add a little bit just for that little kick. And then taste test it. You might, once you've made it, I mean, this stuff is raw and you could eat it. So just change it up as you see fit. If you need a bit more vinegar to make it a bit more tangy, if you want a bit more oil, use that or a bit more mustard, you can change it up.
That's what I was going to say. Could I use more vinegar instead of that?
Absolutely.
I would think so. We didn't taste test it. Maybe you can let us know.
Absolutely. You can always email Kidney Wellness Hub.
I wanted to ask a question about the potatoes. Were they double cooked before they went on the sheet pan, or she was just saying that you could if you needed to?
Yeah, so I didn't double boil these,
Okay,
but I'll
they
show
looked raw.
you. what the product looks like.
Magic
when I
of Zoom
did
here.
double boil. Yeah. So perfectly, really nice roast potatoes still. They didn't fall apart or anything. The
Oh, good.
product was great.
That was my concern.
Yeah, it was my concern too. So I made this dish twice. And what I would suggest is as soon as the water is boiling, the first time, after a minute or two,
Yeah.
switch the water out. You don't have to boil them a long time to get rid of the potassium. You'll still do fine because you're double boiling.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and the key there is you're switching up to fresh water as
Yeah,
well,
that's
right?
right.
So once you've boiled it once, put it in the fresh water. And then I think, Dani, can you show us that plate? I think you kind of cut everything about the same size on your sheet pan to show you want
Yes.
things cooking pretty evenly. So
Yeah. So this is the raw, right? Everything was just cut about the same size. I mean, the chicken is a bit thicker. So what you could do is nest the chicken on top of your vegetables. So the chicken gets the heat and the vegetables kind of are protected. And then the chicken kind of marinades the vegetables. It tastes really good. So you could do it that way in a casserole dish.
and then just check all the ovens. I think we mentioned it in the recipes, but everybody's oven is going to be different for the cooking time. So I always recommend getting a food thermometer and keeping it in your drawer.
Yeah.
And it's going to help you not overcook your food, because I know personally for me, before I had it, I would kill all my meat twice because I was so nervous about it being undercooked. And so I didn't even eat meat for a long time because it was so dry. So using that meat thermometer is going to keep you safe and make sure it's cooked properly, and also going to probably prevent more food waste, because you're going to cook that to the proper internal temperature and not overcook it. So do use that for the chicken. So then you can check if you want to take the chicken out earlier. You keep your veggies in so they crisp up, or vice versa if you need to. I always like to use the thermometer.
Great idea. Yeah. I have two different ones in case I don't like what one says. I'll just use the other one.
Those who know Dani know that that's for sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
So I also wanted to show you the lentil bowl, excuse me. Look how pretty that is. And you can add some chicken that you've made. I mean, this is massive, like that. That's the chicken breast. And you can certainly use some of the roast vegetables if you wanted to as well. Makes a really great lunch for work or a picnic. Yeah.
Are those carrots cooked or raw, Dani?
These ones I just shredded raw.
Okay.
Because I didn't have time to do the coleslaw on the fly, and Anja took that on. But
You're pretending this is the carrots, right?
Yeah, if Anja and I could unite over Zoom,
We'll put
we
them
would
together.
put the coleslaw on my
There
plate,
you go.
and then thank you so much, and then it's done.
Magic of Zoom. It's what I've been saying all along.
Magic. This is a really beautiful stock that I made a bit earlier. Mine is still cooking because I'm using a cast iron, pot. And so it takes a while, but it's going to probably be done in the next 15 minutes. And I will freeze that in glass jars, actually.
Do you prefer glass over plastic?
I
Is there a
like glass
difference?
because I know how much is in it and how much soup, it's like a nice portioning, and I can defrost only what I want to use. So I'll just reuse glass jars. Yeah.
Did you want to pull out the cooked sheet pan dinner that you had, Dani?
Yeah, I will see where it's at.
You can show us how to use the meat thermometer, Dani.
Yeah, I think I'm going to venture and say it's not quite ready. I don't need a meat thermometer. The meat is not cooked. But it's coming along. Like probably, when I put it in, it was about 620. So it's going to need like 10 after 7. By 10 after 7, dinner's ready. But this one here, I was showing our friends the potatoes. Looks pretty good, right?
Guys,
Sure
I
does.
tasted this last time Dani made, we did taste test these and to take the pictures. Her house not only smelled phenomenal. Like I said, I'm jealous that I'm not in the house roasting chicken. Smells like fall. But it does smell really good. And like I said, that the flavors are so caramelized. I personally, those cut up onions, cooked onions are not my jam, but they were really good, really sweet. So really brings out the flavors of the vegetables if you roast them.
Yeah, you said you're like, this is kind of your lead. I don't like any of the vegetables. I think it's a bad idea, but you take this on, I'll roll with it. And I'm telling you, these unsung heroes, right? They're just so good, so delicious when you roast them like that.
And the recipe, it said, I think you kind of mentioned this, but it said to marinate the chicken for 10 to 15 minutes. Does that would add some more taste to it?
Where it really matters is the tofu, I think. Definitely, you should take the time to marinate tofu. With the chicken, honestly, I don't do that. I just pour it all on and stick it in the oven. Yeah, but the tofu, you're gonna need some marinating. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So did I show you the stock?
You did. It looks
So
amazing.
beautiful. And it's
I know, aren't we all hungry now?
And
put in the stock.
What else did I put?
Yeah.
I put my garlic and my special spice blend with garlic powder, a bit of red pepper flakes, dried oregano, basil, thyme. So I just love this blend. So that's what I used. But you could use like curry powder if you wanted to, or ginger, whatever you like.
Okay. Herb de Provence is something that I like to use.
Oh, I love those. That's the best. Yeah. And it somehow removes the smell from the chicken, because chicken can have that taste and smell.
I'm watching the chat a little bit and it's coming up in this conversation and everyone's asking, can I use these herbs? Can I use these? Yes. Totally. So we are giving you a base. We've given you some that we've tried. Why I love cooking a bit more than baking is that cooking is not an exact science. You can change things up. You can adapt using your own herbs, spices, use more, use less. Use what you've got on hand. Somebody said something like sage. That just smells like fall and winter to me. That would be amazing. So definitely switch it up. Same as you said, you like Susan, you said you like the herb de Provence. Definitely use that in your stock or on your sheet pans for sure. Keep the ideas coming in the chat too. I'm sure everyone would love ideas of what herbs or spices you could change up.
Should we do the draw? What do you think?
So while we were chatting and watching Dani and Anja cook, I did a random draw on Google and just picked numbers from the 32 participants. And I ended up with number 7, 19, and 26. And if I go down my computer screen, which may not match your computer screen, I came up with Bob, Paul San, and Linda Sells are going to win the aprons.
Congratulations.
This is a really awesome apron. It's great. Very high quality. So happy aproning. That's awesome.
I just, as we're closing, wanted to say a huge thank you to SLV with Sean and Rob for morphing at the last minute and being able to do this remotely outside. To Dani and Anja for being so willing to continue even with a COVID positive test. It has been an amazing evening for me, and I've certainly enjoyed it. And I'm just going to let them close out the session, and I hope everyone else enjoyed it as well. Over to you guys.
Thank you so much. This was our first Come Cook With Us class, and we really hope to offer more. So if you have any suggestions or feedback, please do fill out the survey that's going to come into your emails shortly. And it will just really help us customize the cooking class better to your needs. And just make sure you check out the Kidney Wellness Hub. the Kidney Community Kitchen, the dietitians blog. There's lots of great recipes, lots of great tips, and happy cooking, right? Enjoy. I hope you will have fun.
Yes, thank you all for coming. And if you cooked along with us, we're hoping we've at least inspired some of you to try maybe something new. And I know I learned today watching Dani cut up that chicken. So hopefully everyone learned something new.
Oh, we
I'm
did.
sure looking forward to that coleslaw recipe. That sounds yummy.
Awesome.
So can you figure out some way to make the magic Zoom have all of us eat together now?
Right?
Aw, that
There's
would be
a few
amazing.
things Zoom doesn't have yet. Hey, the smell
Yeah.
and being able to actually
I know.
feed it to you, right?
I'm going to tuck in to my lentil bowl. I'm not going to be asked twice because this is so yummy.
That's dinner.
Mhm.
Stop.
Danny, none of us can smell or taste it.
Yeah.
It's good, people. Turned out well.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Night.
much.
Thank you.
So lovely.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good
Bye,
night.
everyone. Thank
Really
you.
good production. Thank you.
Thank you.